A hall of galactic history was larger than any stadium on Earth. It floated above the quiet moon of Velrion, built from silver stones and light that glowed like stars. Here, the most intelligent students of the galaxy came to learn the past and to be reminded of their place in the universe. On this day, hundreds of alien students filled the curved seats of the amphitheater. Their faces were of many kinds, blue, gold-scaled, feathered. Their voices were low but excited. Today's lecture was about a war that had changed everything, the Prime War. The instructor walked to the center platform. His name was Zareth, an old being with silver skin that shone like metal. His voice echoed through the room as if carried by invisible winds. The Prime War, he said, was the greatest war in recorded galactic history. It lasted 200 years and destroyed more than 70 civilizations. It left the stars silent for centuries. No species endured. No species survived the front lines. The hall fell quiet. Zareth slowly lifted his hand. A floating screen appeared above him, showing broken planets, burning fleets, and empty cities. Every empire that joined the war was erased, he continued. No race, no nation, no fleet came out alive. The students watched in awe. Some whispered in their native tongues. Others shook their heads, imagining the fear, the chaos, the hopelessness of that war. But at the back of the hall, one student did not seem shocked. He sat with his hands folded. He wore a dark uniform with a simple Earth emblem on the chest. His name was Aaron Keller. He was human. The quiet voice instructor Zareth paused. He always liked to end his speech with the same words. "This war is the reason peace exists today," he said. "Because no one wants to fight a war like that again. Because no one has survived one." But before he could continue, a calm voice rose from the back. "We did." The words were not loud, but in the silent hall they hit like thunder. Hundreds of alien heads turned toward Aaron. Their eyes widened. Whispers began immediately. "Did he say we did? Humans? That can't be true. No species survived." Zareth narrowed his eyes. "What did you say, cadet?" Aaron stood slowly. He wasn't the tallest in the room. He didn't have glowing eyes, wings, or horns like the others. He looked ordinary, but his voice didn't shake. "I said," Aaron repeated, "we survived the Prime War." The room filled with noise. Some laughed softly. Some shouted in disbelief. "Impossible," one reptilian student hissed. "Humans didn't even have warp drives during the Prime War," another barked. Zareth raised a hand, silencing the hall. His gaze stayed fixed on Aaron. "You make a serious claim, human. The archives are clear. The Prime War left no survivors. Your species was not even recognized then." Aaron walked down the steps toward the center of the hall. Each footstep echoed like a small drum. "The archives are wrong," he said simply. "The forgotten history." When Aaron reached the center, he touched the hollow screen. The images of burning planets shifted. He added a file, an old human document. It flickered and cracked. It was far older than anything in the galactic database. A map appeared. Not of stars, of a single system. Sol. "Humanity did not fight in the early years of the Prime War," Aaron began. "We were not powerful then. We had no big fleets, no empire, just one homeworld and small colonies." Zareth folded his arms. "That much is known." "But the war spread like a storm," Aaron continued. "One empire fell, then another. Refugees from broken worlds arrived at our borders. We took them in even when we had little. That was how we learned the truth about the war." The students leaned forward without realizing it. "Why did you not surrender?" a blue-feathered alien asked. Aaron gave a small smile. "Because that's not what we do." He explained how Earth had been warned. Run, hide, surrender. But humanity did not. They had seen wars before, and not galactic, but cruel enough. They understood how to fight with nothing. "We were not the strongest," Aaron said. "We were the last ones still standing when everyone else had burned." The first human stand, the hollow image changed again. Now it showed a fleet. Old human ships, small and boxy compared to alien cruisers. Freighters turned into warships. Mining platforms turned into defense towers. Aaron spoke softly, but his words were sharp. "When the Prime War came near Sol, there was no one left to help us. All the great empires were gone. The enemy was older, faster, stronger, but they did not know humans. The first enemy fleet entered human space. Everyone expected Earth to fall in hours, but it did not. Human engineers broke the alien code, turning their own weapons against them. Civilians became soldiers overnight. They built a wall of fire and steel, not because they believed they could win, but because surrender was not an option. We were scared, Aaron admitted, but we kept fighting anyway. The Battle of the Rift. Aaron touched the screen again. The map zoomed out to a dark stretch of space, the luminous rift. This is where everything ended, he said. Zerath's face changed. Even he, the old instructor, had heard of the rift. It was the battlefield where the war burned itself out. It was the edge of everything. We were the only organized force left, Aaron said. Every other empire had fallen. Billions of refugees were behind us. If we failed here, everyone died. The human fleet stood between the last survivors and the enemy swarm. Hundreds of ships made of patched metal, stolen alien tech, and human stubbornness. The enemy came in waves, endless and dark. The battle lasted 36 hours. We lost ships every minute, Aaron said. We lost friends. We lost family. But not once did a single human ship turn back. Alien students listened, breathless. This was not in their archives. But you were outnumbered, one whispered. Yes, Aaron said. We always were. Humanity used tricks no enemy expected. Fake signals, broken ships as bombs, manual steering through enemy lines. No other species would have done it. They were too proud or too logical. But humans were desperate and stubborn. We made the impossible ugly, Aaron said. And we made it work, the silence. After when the sun of the rift finally rose again, the enemy was gone, not defeated in glory, just burned away with the last of their power. The human fleet was nearly destroyed. Only a few hundred ships remained. But they were still there, and behind them, billions of survivors from other species. Saved not by mighty empires, not by gods, but by a young, stubborn species that everyone had ignored. Aaron's voice grew softer now. That's how we survived. Not because we were stronger, because we refused to fall. A shift in the hall of galactic history was silent again, but it was not the cold silence from before. It was the kind that made your skin prickle. Zerath stared at Aaron. His silver eyes were unreadable. Slowly he walked closer to the human. The archives say nothing of this, Zerath said. They wouldn't, Aaron replied. After the war, Earth didn't build a great empire. We helped rebuild others. We didn't ask for monuments. We just went home. A small alien cadet raised a hand. Why didn't you tell the galaxy? Aaron looked around the hall. We don't tell stories to feel important. We tell them when someone needs to hear them. For the first time, Zerath gave a slow nod. Perhaps we needed to hear it now. The legacy of the quiet voice. The students left the hall that day with their minds shaken. The humans they had thought were ordinary, small and weak compared to the grand species of the stars. But they were wrong. They whispered to each other. They stood against the Prime War. They saved the galaxy. They never said a word. Aaron stayed behind. He looked at the old holograms of the war, not with pride, but with quiet memory. He wasn't a hero. None of them were. They were just people who had refused to give up, and sometimes that was enough to change everything. Zerath walked to him slowly. You have changed this lesson, the instructor said. Aaron gave a small smile. Good. It needed changing. As he walked out of the hall, the stars above Velrian looked brighter. And for the first time in centuries, the truth of the Prime War was not just a legend written by the victors. It was a story told by someone who had lived through its echoes, a human who had quietly said, "We did." Epilogue. Long after Aaron left, the instructor stood alone in the hall. He rewrote the lesson's closing words. No species endured the Prime War, the old text said. He deleted it. One did. Humanity. And far across the stars, the quiet legacy of a stubborn species began to spread once more, not with loud songs or golden statues, but with a simple, powerful truth. We survived.